Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 8 Part 61 based on novel. So let's start. The hearty laughter was mixed with a wild and violent energy. As it swiftly spread, it thundered across the sky above unique Devil City, drawing countless gazes over. Under the attention of those numerous stunned gazes, two rays of light rushed over from the distant horizon at lightning speed, appearing in the sky within a couple of flashes. Bang! When the rays of light arrived, one of them suddenly threw a palm forward. Immediately, monstrous purplish-black energy unfurled. It appeared like a storm as it ruthlessly smashed onto the large Yuan power palm that was swatting towards Lindong. Bang bang bang! The two majestic attacks brazenly collided, and a loud noise resounded. Subsequently, everyone was stunned to see that the large Yuan power palm formed by the advanced profound life stage expert from Yuan Gate had swiftly melted under the erosion of the purplish-black energy. Who is it? You actually dare to hinder my Yuan Gate? A grey-cloaked old man flashed and appeared in the sky after having his attack blocked. His expression was quite ugly as he looked at the collapsed large palm. After which, his dark and stern eyes looked towards the two lights that had arrived and he cried out. In the sky, the lights dissipated. Soon after, they turned into two figures that appeared beside Lindong. One of was tall and strong like a metal tower. His skin looked as if it had been cast from black metal, and when sunlight shone on it, it actually reflected a golden luster. An aura of toughness and valiance that could not be described by words rippled from his body. Beside the metal tower-like figure was a tall and straight man clothed in green. His body appeared exceptionally slim when compared to the rough large man. Moreover, the most surprising thing was his devilish handsome face. His appearance would cause even some ladies to feel jealous. The size of these two figures differed too greatly, causing one's gaze to strongly feel under attack when viewed from a distance. With such appearances, who else could they be other than Little Martin and Little Flame? Big brother, it seems that we have arrived a little late. Originally, we thought of heading into the unique devil region to look for you. Little Flame scratched his head as he smiled in a simple and honest manner towards Lindong. TSK, what a strong lineup. You really know how to cause trouble. I have also heard about what happened in unique devil region. Not bad at all. Little Martin ignored that grey-clothed old man after appearing. All he did was turn his head and look at Lindong as he smilingly teased. After which, he paused before asking, "You all right?" Lindong gazed at these two people before him, before smiling and shaking his head. He could sense that their tensed bodies had greatly relaxed after seeing that he was fine. A wider grin was involuntarily revealed from the corners of his mouth as warmth flowed within his heart. Who are they? Ying Xiaoxiao looked at these two individuals who had suddenly appeared behind Lindong. She frowned slightly and inquired. She had never met Little Martin and Little Flame. They are Lin Jiao and Lin Yang, Lindong's sworn brothers. Back then, all of them had come to Dao sect together. However, they went out to train not long after Lindong entered the Dao sect, Ying Huan explained. She was clearly a little familiar with the Little Martin duo. After all, they had fought alongside each other at Demon Sound Mountain. Oh! Ying Xiaoxiao was somewhat astonished. Soon after, her eyes carefully swept over the two of them and turned a little grave. She could sense a rich dangerous feeling from the simple and honest-looking Little Flame with a metal tower-like body. It felt as though an extremely ferocious to the maximum character was hidden under that simple and honest smiling face. This kind of ferocity was similar to when Lindong went insane. It was really the case where one became like those within one's close proximity. Ying Xiaoxiao paid a little more attention to Little Martin because of his devilish handsome face. Quickly after, her originally grave face became even more serious. This was because she discovered that she was actually unable to sense even the slightest feeling of danger from Little Martin's body. Normally speaking, there were only two types of people who would give her such a feeling. The first was a person who was of no threat, while the second was when the other party's strength surpassed her own too greatly, causing her to be unable to sense it. If Little Martin had not intervened earlier, Ying Xiaoxiao might still believe that he was at the former group. Clearly, however, being able to easily scatter the attack of an advanced profound life stage expert meant that it was impossible for him to be in this category. Hence, there was only one answer. Little Martin's strength was already so strong that she was unable to ascertain it. Unfathomable. This was Ying Xiaoxiao's evaluation of Little Martin on their first meeting. She was extremely astonished that Lin Dong was able to befriend such a person. Little Miss Memory is very good. Little Martin suddenly turned his head and smilingly said to Ying Huan while the two sisters were chatting. Little Martin clearly had an extremely deep impression of Ying Huan. The former's reincarnator status was something that even Little Martin was fairly afraid of. He was aware that if Ying Huan was to awaken in the future, she would definitely be a peak-level expert in this world. However, from the looks of the situation now, this lady seemed to have some feelings for Lin Dong. This was a rather good thing. Ying Huan curled her mouth and grinned at Little Martin, appearing exceptionally serene and elegant. Little Martin's eyes turned away from Ying Huan and suddenly paused on young lady beside her. He was immediately startled. Why is this little lass here? Ching Tan. Little Flame was also stunned as he stared in a daze at the young lady. Ching Tan felt completely lost when she saw their gazes. She was at a complete loss. From their current appearance, it seemed that they were extremely familiar with her. Ching Tan, do you still remember Little Flame? Lin Dong chuckled. He patted Little Flame's arm and grinned at Ching Tan. Little Flame? Ching Tan blinked her eyes blankly. It was a long while later before her eyes suddenly widened. They were filled with disbelief as they gazed at the metal tower-like man, while her small hand covered her mouth. Little Flame? When Lin Dong and Little Flame left the Great Yang Empire, the latter was still unable to transform. Hence, Ching Tan's knowledge of him had remained at the period where he was still a fire python tiger. Now, that large tiger, which had carried her on its back as they ran around the town, had changed and become so fierce-looking. No way. You are really Little Flame? How did you become like this? The young lady's shock merely continued for a moment, before she pounced over with great curiosity. Her small hands continuously felt Little Flame's metal-like skin as she chirped unceasingly. Little Flame watched the little bird-like young lady at his side. A grin appeared on his simple and honest face. His pair of eyes, which faintly flickered with ferocity, revealed an extremely rare gentleness. He still clearly remembered those memories from back then. How rude, you should call him Big Brother Lin Yang in future. Lin Dong smiled and patted Ching Tan's head. After which, he pointed at Little Martin and said, this fellow has actually also seen you for a couple of years. However, he hid within my body in the past, and you are unaware of him. Ah, he is now called Lin Jiao. Ching Tan nodded when she heard Lin Dong's words. She curiously looked at Little Martin before softly uttering to Lin Dong, this big brother Lin Jiao is really pretty. Although Ching Tan's voice was soft, it still reached Little Martin's ears. Immediately, an embarrassed expression appeared on his handsome face. Lin Dong could not help but laugh when he saw that Little Martin, whose skin was usually thicker than his own, would actually feel embarrassed. Who exactly are you, sir? Lin Dong is someone whom our Yuan Gate sect master has ordered to be invited back to Yuan Gate. I hope that you will not intervene. Otherwise, you might end up inviting trouble for yourself. The face of the grey-clothed man in the sky involuntarily appeared a little ugly when he saw that the Little Martin duo had actually ignored him after appearing. Soon after, he shouted with a cold voice. What a noisy old fellow! Little Martin finally turned his head over at this moment. A mocking smile formed on his handsome face as he laughed. Didn't he simply kill some Yuan Gate disciples of yours? Do you need to be so flustered and exasperated? The eyes of that grey-clothed old man's eyes became dark and cold when he heard these words. He venomously said, this little bastard has killed 540 of our Yuan Gate disciples. His murderous desire is too great. Our Yuan Gate has invited him back for his own good. We will kindly remove his murderous aura in order for his future to remain bright. I do not care what relationship you have with him, but I will advise you to simply stand idly by the side and watch. Else, you will have to pay a price you cannot afford. Is that so? Little Martin lifted his head when he heard this, as a brilliant smile surfaced on his handsome face. Soon after, that brilliant smile became a little malicious. He extended his slender right hand, as purplish-black flame rose and gathered on it. A bone-chilling voice that contained rich killing intent resounded. You insensible old dog. Do you think you have the qualifications to teach my brother a lesson? Little Martin stood in the air as purplish-black flames danced on his palm. The light from the fire reflected on his handsome face. Faintly, there was a peculiar cruelness rising in the air that caused one to feel a chill in one's heart. At this time, countless people within unique Devil City were gawking due to Little Martin's words, before secretly feeling speechless. Where exactly had this person came from? Even Yuan Gate did not enter his eyes. They are undoubtedly brothers. Ying Xiao and the rest also looked at each other. This Little Martin's temper was seemingly even more peculiar than Lin Dong's, and the way he talked even more vicious, completely not leaving any face for the other party. You courting death? In the sky, the gaze of the old man dressed in grey turned completely gloomy and cold as the skin on his face twitched. It was obvious that extreme fury had erupted in his heart due to Little Martin's rude words. Since you're together with that brat, I shall also capture you along with him. The grey-robed old man said malevolently. With the likes of yourself? Little Martin said with a grin. As he stood with both hands behind his back, his smile contained unconcealable contempt. His actions were obviously insolent to the extreme. However, there was also a faint hint of pride and elegance. That attitude, accompanied with his handsome appearance, attracted the extraordinary sparkle in the eyes of quite a few ladies within the city. Let me see how long you can continue being so sharp-tongued. The grey-robed old man's face had turned steely green, before his figure suddenly exploded forth. Boundless and vigorous Yuan power surged out, immediately transforming into a Yuan power mountain peak, which he pressed down on Little Martin. Snort. Upon seeing this, the simple expression on Little Flame's face disappeared at an astonishing speed. In the next moment, a ruthless and tyrannical aura that caused one's heart to grow cold erupted on his face. In the blink of an eye, the simple and honest big guy had turned into an Azura-killing god. Let me. However, Little Flame did not take action, as Little Martin gestured to him with his hands. He proceeded to extend the palm that was covered in purplish-black flames out, before giving a grab at the gigantic Yuan power mountain that was whizzing towards him from a distance. Boom! Following the grab by Little Martin, the space surrounding the Yuan power mountain peak instantly started to warp and distort, as if there was a giant invisible hand pinching the space till it shattered. Break! A low voice suddenly rang out from Little Martin's mouth, as the warping of the space instantly reached its maximum. As for the Yuan power mountain peak, it had unexpectedly been directly shattered by this attack. Boundless Yuan power poured from the sky in torrents, and the face of the grey-robed old man gradually started to turn dark and grim. This move by Little Martin was enough to expose his powerful strength. After all, if it was the grey-robed old man, he believed that he was unable to reach the level where he could casually warp space. Your strength has slightly recovered again. Lin Dong watched this scene and faintly smiled. Previously, on Demonic Sound Mountain, Little Martin's strength had yet to reach this level. Evidently, during this period of time, Little Martin had once again regained quite a bit of his strength. With second brother's current strength, he should not have any opponents in the profound life stage. Little Flame smiled and said towards Lin Dong. Lin Dong nodded his head. From the looks of things, Little Martin's current strength should be at the perfect profound life stage. Exactly how strong was this fellow in his heyday? With just that little bit of ability, you still dare to hoot in front of Grandpa Martin? In the sky, Little Martin had shattered the gigantic peak with a single hand. After which, a cold smile appeared on his handsome face. In the next instant, the hand burning with purplish-black flames suddenly turned towards the grey-robed old man and made a downward grabbing motion. Bang! Following his grab, the space surrounding the grey-robed old man warped and distorted again. In addition, within the warping space, strands of purplish-black flames started to appear. With an astonishing speed, it swept towards the grey-robed old man. This unforeseen event caused the grey-robed old man to turn pale in fright. He immediately waved his sleeve as boundless yuan power akin to a flood surged out in an attempt to defend against the purplish-black flames that were sweeping towards him. When the boundless yuan power flood and the purplish-black flames collided, countless sizzling sounds rang out. The grey-robed old man looked with some alarm and fright as his yuan power was unexpectedly being burned by the purplish flames, and rapidly disappeared. An icy smile flashed past little Martin's face, before he flicked his finger. Those purplish-black flames transformed into a fire dragon, pierced through the grey-robed old man's yuan power defense, and viciously smashed into his body. Bang! A low and deep sound echoed in the sky as the mournful and miserable cry of the grey-robed old man followed suit. His figure shot backwards in an extremely miserable state. The skin on his body had turned scarlet red, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. His aura was weak, and it was obvious that he had suffered pretty serious injuries. When the gazes from the entire area saw the miserable state of the grey-robed old man, they could not help but gasp. This was an expert at the advanced profound life stage. Yet, he could only endure for a moment at the hands of that handsome youth. So powerful, where exactly is that person from? At a pavilion within the city, Ling Qingzhu gravely watched the fight that was occurring in the distant sky, before asking with a little doubt. From his outer appearance, this person seems to be around your age, however that is absolutely not his true age. His strength might have already reached the perfect profound life stage. Beside Ling Qingzhu was a beautiful woman who was similarly looking gravely at the sky. She was the Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace Group leader, and her strength was also at the advanced profound life stage. That's Big Brother Lin Jiao, Big Brother Lin Dong's sworn brother. Su Ru, who was standing beside them, interrupted. Oh! Ling Qingzhu's and the beautiful woman's expression changed slightly as they looked toward Su Ru. Big Brother Lin Dong and his two other brothers came from the Great Yang Empire. Big Brother Lin Jiao is normally rather fierce. When we first met during the 100 Empire War, he intended to chase us away. However, only after Big Brother Lin Dong opened his mouth, did they allow us to follow them, Su Ru replied with a smile. However, Big Brother Lin Jiao is a very good person, he would absolutely not oppose Lin Dong on any matter he has decided on. Ling Qingzhu and the beautiful woman exchanged a look. Soon after, Ling Qingzhu tilted her head, and looked at the figure of Lin Dong in the distant sky with a complicated expression within her eyes. Following their deepening interactions, there were more and more things that happened to the latter had made her feel astonishment. For example, the handsome youth whose strength was at the perfect profound life stage. In fact, if he were to be placed within the entire Eastern Xian region, he would be ranked at the front. And that youth was actually his sworn brother. Furthermore, from Su Ru's words, it was not hard for her to know that among the three brothers, Lin Dong was the leader. The capability to make someone whose strength far surpassed oneself to admit this kind of leadership was not easy. Boom! In the sky, overbearing fluctuations erupted from the distance, as numerous figures shot backwards. They were Qi Lei, Shadong, and the rest that who were battling previously. Liu Yu? Upon seeing the grey-robed old man in an extremely miserable state, the faces of the 5 people from Yuan Gate changed. This fellow is extremely strong. I have no idea where he appeared from. The grey-robed old man called Liu Yu said as he looked at little Martin with an extremely ugly expression. The brows of Shadong and the other 4 faintly wrinkled. Their eyes were somewhat grim as they gazed at little Martin's figure. Moments later, Shadong came forward and said in a deep voice, "This friend. All of you, go ahead and attack together." Just as his words appeared, little Martin's indifferent laugh came ringing over. You? Upon hearing this, Shadong was instantly enraged. From the looks of it, words would only be wasted. The person standing before them had already declared his intention of opposing them. Good, let me see exactly how capable you are today. To actually dare utter such blasphemy in this place? Shadong waved his sleeve and spoke in a sinister voice. Nearby, upon seeing this scene, Qi Lei, Chen Zhen, and the 2 others faintly gawked, before looking at little Martin again. They clearly did not know why he would help them. Who is he? Chi Lei asked doubtfully. It seems that is Lin Dong's friend. Chen Zhen replied doubtfully. He had seen little Martin previously. However, little Martin's strength then was obviously far from how terrifying it was now. Upon hearing his words, Chi Lei and the other two were startled. They had obviously never imagined that Lin Dong would actually know such a powerful expert. Leave them to me. In the sky, little Martin shot a look at Chi Lei and the other three before slowly walking forward. Following his footsteps, purplish-black flames suddenly swept out from behind his body. If seen from the distance, it looked as if a demonic god was descending. Attack together, if not, you will not have another chance. As the purplish-black flames blotted the skies with their fluctuations, a chilling smile slowly appeared on little Martin's handsome face. After saying those words, an unconcealable tyrannical aura pervaded the air. In the sky filled by boundless Yuan power, the faces of Shudong and the other five turned extremely ugly as they gazed at little Martin in the distance, while rage erupted from their eyes. Their reputation within the Eastern Xian region was considered pretty good. Over the years, there was no one that dared to look down on them. Isn't your boasting a little too much? Aren't you afraid of choking to death on these words? Shudong said with a gloomy face. Choke Grandpa Martin to death? You trash sure think too highly of yourselves. Little Martin mockingly replied with a smile while shaking his head. Heh? Good, I'm really interested to find out just what kind of abilities you have to take on all six of us by yourself. Shudong's expression was frosty as he chuckled. He could feel how tyrannical little Martin was, therefore he did not try to show off and do something like a one-on-one fight. Since little Martin had said such boastful and crazy words, Shudong would be happy to help fulfill his wish. As his words rang out, Shudong cast a chilling gaze at the five people beside him, before faintly nodding his head. In the next instant, boundless Yuan power simultaneously swept out, and six extremely violent Yuan power torrents gushed out, crafty and vicious as they rumbled towards little Martin in the distance. Floating in the sky, little Martin looked at the attacks of the six people as the lips on his handsome face faintly curled. With a wave of his sleeve, purplish-black flames spread outwards, transforming into a fiery barrier around his entire body. Bang bang! The Yuan power torrents were swift and violent as they arrived, before finally impacting against the fiery barrier. However, only a few muffled sounds rang out, before they dissipated like fleeting snow that had met a raging inferno. Is that all? Little Martin grinned as he looked towards the grim Shudong and the other five and asked. Seeing that their combined attacks were unexpectedly unable to shake little Martin at all, the expressions of Shudong and the others could not help but change somewhat, as they felt disbelief in their hearts. When the six of them joined forces, even a perfect profound life stage expert would not dissolve their attacks so easily. Who exactly was this handsome youth in front of them, who was actually so strong? So strong, upon seeing this spectacle, graveness filled Chi Lei's eyes as he said in a deep voice. Even some profound life stage experts of Yuan Gate would perhaps fall short of the power that little Martin had displayed. Beside him, Chen Zhen faintly nodded his head. He knew some fuzzy details about little Martin's identity, therefore, when the latter displayed that astonishing combat ability, it did not seem exceptionally astonishing. If this is all you have, get ready to scram. In the sky, little Martin seemed rather unsatisfied with the combined might of Shudong and the other five. Purplish-black flames danced on his slender hand. Soon after, he shot a look at the six and said with an indifferent tone, "Don't be an intolerable bully." Shudong and the other five were clearly angered by the heedless attitude of little Martin. They were currently being watched by countless gazes in this unique devil region. If it spread that even the six of them were unable to shake a person when they joined forces, where could they possibly show their old faces in future? Heaven covering Yuan array. A deep voice containing rage emerged from Shudong's mouth. Instantly, the other five started a series of profound footwork. Surging Yuan power converged to form a light pillar, which suddenly shot out and transformed into a light array, enveloping the five within. Boom! Boundless Yuan power fluctuations radiated crazily from within the light array. Being an array created by the combined strength of 6 advanced profound life stage experts, its might was obviously rather terrifying. The fluctuations that radiated from it caused the expressions of several people in the city to change. Within the enveloping light array, boundless Yuan power light pillars whizzed out. However, they did not disperse. Instead, they converged towards Shadong's location at an astonishing speed. As this Yuan power gathered, Shadong's aura rapidly multiplied in power. Contrary to him, the auras of the other 5 rapidly weakened. From the looks of it, the other 5 individuals had evidently delivered their Yuan power to Shadong for a short duration. That's the Yuan Gate's heaven-covering Yuan array. It can temporarily graft the Yuan power of others to one's body. Although the one that accepts the Yuan power would suffer injuries, his strength would reach an astonishing level for a short period of time. As he watched this spectacle, Chi Lei's eyes turned a little more grave while he explained. The merging of 6 people's Yuan power. This requires an extremely high level of understanding between them. These few old fellows do indeed have some ability, Chen Zhen added while nodding his head. However, that friend of Lin Dong's is also not someone who is easy to deal with. It would not be easy for these old fellows to defeat him even having used their final trump card. Yuan power that blotted the skies rippled around Shadong like an ocean. Feeling the extreme surge of power within his body, a dark and cold expression appeared on his aged face. His gaze locked onto little Martin in the distance. With a cold laugh, his hand seal suddenly changed as a cold roar resounded. Heaven-subduing seal. Bang! Boundless Yuan power surged out like a flood at this instant, rapidly transforming into a gigantic light seal several hundreds of feet large in the sky. Above the light seal, ripples started to scatter outwards, and even the land seemed to tremble slightly at this moment. The light seal was formed, and without the slightest trace of stopping, it whizzed out with a bright and resplendent light tail akin to a comet, and rumbled towards little Martin under the innumerable shocked gazes below. Now this is something slightly worth seeing, however, that's all there is to it. Little Martin watched the gigantic seal shooting towards him. With a laugh, he slowly started to clench those slender hands, causing purplish-black flames to sweep out. Under the stunned gazes of everyone, it transformed into a pair of gigantic purplish-black flaming bat wings that were nearly 1,000 feet wide. The flaming bat wings faintly flapped, causing gales to erupt across the sky and land, while space immediately started to warp and distort. After the flaming bat wings had formed, it gave a sudden flap. In that instant, it seemingly ripped apart space, and violently slapped against the gigantic light seal under the attention of numerous watching gazes. Boom! An enormous sound mixed with extremely wild and violent fluctuations crazily dispersed in the skies. A few who were standing close to the fight were immediately swept and thrown away, causing them to appear extremely miserable. Crack! As the ripples spread outwards, everyone could see that cracks had suddenly appeared on the surface of the gigantic light seal. With a final crack, the light seal formed by the full powers of 6 advanced profound life advanced stage experts, shattered apart with a loud bang. Ugh! As the light seal shattered, muffled groans rang out of the throats of Shadong and the other 5, as paleness surfaced on their faces. At this moment, terror finally flashed within their eyes. The people of Yuan Gate are unable to withstand even a single blow. The little Martin gazed indifferently at Shadong and the rest, whose expressions had changed drastically. A cold glint flashed within his eyes, and a faint tremor shook his body. The incomparably gigantic flaming bat wings shattered space again, and appeared above them in a flash, before ruthlessly slapping downwards. Bang bang! Frightening purplish-black flames carried berserk power and smashed against the bodies of Shadong and the other 5, who were unable to evade, at lightning speed. Low and deep muffled sounds rang out, as the 6 shot down miserably while continuously spurting blood on the way down. Their auras rapidly weakened, indicating that they had obviously suffered pretty serious injuries. Complete defeat. Upon seeing this, a series of gasps sounded out in the city. 6 advanced profound life stage experts had joined hands, however, they unexpectedly still suffered complete defeat at the hands of this handsome man. Don't be too pleased with yourself, you've offended our Yuan Gate. In this Eastern Xian region, there will definitely be no safe place for you. Although the 6 of us are not your opponents, our Yuan Gate has as many experts as the clouds in the skies. You'll regret it sooner or later. Shudong wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, before shouting in a stern voice. Too noisy. Little Martin's gaze turned a little frosty, as killing intent flashed within his eyes. Like a sharp flaming wing blade, the flaming bat wings shattered space again. They contained extremely swift and fierce gales, as they slashed at the 6. From the looks of it, he was actually planning to kill all of them. You? Upon discovering the sudden swift and fierce attack unleashed by Little Martin and the murderous aura within, the faces of Shudong and the other 5 were overwhelmed with horror. They had obviously never imagined that Little Martin would actually dare to unleash a killing blow on them. Retreat quickly. A panicked voice emerged from Shudong's mouth. However, their faces turned deathly pale as they discovered that the space surrounding them had been locked at this moment. They could only raise their heads, and look with wide eyes at the flaming bat wings descending upon them at lightning speed. Lin Dong watched the spectacle playing before him. However, in the next instant, his pupils suddenly contracted. He had noticed that the space in front of Shudong and the other 5 had suddenly started distorting. In the next instant, a slender and fair hand reached out from within it. With a flick, an invisible fluctuation scattered outwards, and directly forced back Little Martin's flaming bat wings. Who? As the bat wings were forced back, a grave look finally appeared on Little Martin's handsome face. His eyes were tightly fixed on the distorted space before Shudong and the 5, as he shouted in a deep voice. When did my Eastern Xian region become a territory of the celestial demon Martins? Don't you think that you are looking down too greatly on my Yuan Gate? An indifferent laugh slowly rang out from the distorted space. In the next moment, everyone saw a figure slowly step out from within. The instant he appeared, the sky and earth seemed to have suddenly darkened. An invisible fluctuation radiated out, causing people to feel an impulse to kneel down. That is. Within the pavilion, Ling Qingshu gazed at the figure that had walked out from empty space. Even with her temperament, she could not help but gasp. One of the 3 great sect masters of Yuan Gate. Ren Yuanzi. Beside her, the jade-like hands of the beautiful woman were clenched tight, while she grimly muttered with some difficulty. This video will end here.